Well, interesting first halves so far. We've got the Nick Foles vomit on himself game, which is brutal. I tried to send a tweet out about it right now, and I misspelled something, so that's a disaster.
No, it's not a disaster. Grammarly saved the day for you, and better that than having to send it out, realize that you misspelled something, and then delete it, and then have
I had to do that.
You know who inevitably say hey, I saw you misspelled something. Also, who does that? The person's I saw you deleted a tweet, you misspelled it. Thanks.
I always like the people who respond to you and say oh, you deleted a tweet. Yeah, I'm not running for office here.
Sorry.
You know, I don't care about anything.
Also, better to delete a tweet than to be I don't care, shamelessly. You're spelled incorrectly.
Terrific. I'm going to wait and try to do it again in a minute here. So in the meantime.
So tell us your tweet, Matt. Forget tweeting it. I don't know if that's going to mess with your numbers, but tell us your thought behind the tweet then. If you're going to save the genius for the socials, at least tell us live.
First, let's talk about you people in the chat room over there.
Oh, he wants to save it.
We're paying attention to you.
Cloak and dagger tweets.
We're paying attention to you. You're beautiful. Hit us with your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your concerns about what's going on in this week's NFL action. We already have a decent amount here. People are very upset about George Kittle, which is tough, right? He's one of the few.
It's tough to be angry at anything that George Kittle has been doing over the past few weeks. I mean, did we see last week's game?
Right. You have one of the few just amazing tight ends in fantasy right now, and you're upset, which to me, I mean, he does have 0 catches. That's a bummer. But it is a great defense. And look, if you think about it, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, what are you going to do? You're going to try to stop.
Take away the other team's number one.
Exactly.
I hear that's a philosophy that a lot of winning teams abide by.
Some certainly do. That is for sure. I put out a tweet, not the tweet I'm trying to put out.
The secret tweet.
I was just going to use a meme that I saw that was funny.
Oh, describing memes.
I'm not, this is what I don't want to do. I'm trying to break bad habits, and you're trying to push me back into them. You're trying to push me back into.
Tell me which meme were you going to use?
Oh, it's a Baby Yoda meme, which I've seen.
Oh, new one.
Which, by the way, I've seen 0 minutes of that show. I've seen 0 seconds of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But I am trying to, but the memes are funny. I'm trying to do it. So in the meantime, while I try to recover from this tweet disaster, let's talk about my other tweet.
Wait, what are you, no, I will not give you a pass. You are tweeting about Nick Foles and a Baby Yoda. Is this a try again?
No, he's he's glaring at the Boba Fett-ish character across the room. And I'm like, this is Gardner Minshew glaring at Nick Foles from the other end of the sideline, essentially. I don't know, thought it would be funny. We'll see. Maybe never happens. If you can't give me 2 seconds to send this thing, I can fix it. Don't
talk to me. Talk to the Mandalorian expert, our producer, who said you got to go live now. All right. So
I know. He was tilting me.
Matt. All right.
Okay. Yes. You talk.
Are you tilted or jilted by George Kittle? Right. You're just momentarily tilted. You're not actually jilted.
If I can hold this like that.
And he's going to send the tweet. Let's talk about, I think this 49ers-Baltimore game, this is 49ers-Ravens game, is an incredible game. You got all the elements you could possibly, you got bad weather, you've got studs being studs except for George Kittle, you've got big hits, you've got trash talk. This is an incredible outing, but I think the one that is underwhelming, everyone expected Sam Darnold, after stringing together a couple of really explosive, nice showings, to have himself a day, and in fact, that has not bared out at all. But you know what is good about it? Just get your footing. It's okay. You know what is good about it? Robbie Anderson is continuing to lead the receiving corps with looks. He's got 5 so far, and I expected him to have a good outing. I just thought that all of that would, now that Darnold has a couple of options, would mean more for his production. You would think so. At the end of the day, I think the Jets can come back a little stronger in the second half. The benefit of Andy Dalton being under center for the Bengals, which again I think is why I liked Sam Darnold in this matchup, was because our colleague Scott Pianowski says you can only take advantage of a bad defense if the offense fights back, right? Yeah, that's a good point. And in this case, Finley wasn't able to really fight back, but Dalton here, the Ginger Fist, is fighting back a little bit. So I would imagine that Sam Darnold's going to take this halftime and regroup and give himself some footing, yeah? You would think so.
All right, so people want to talk about Nick Foles. Now that I finally have my tweet out, I can pull it up behind me. Technology. Nick Foles, what the hell?
This is it.
You were early on the Gardner Minshew hype train.
Yeah.
That was your guy, right?
This is what I'm watching. This thing.
This thing.
Okay.
If you look at that side eye glare, isn't that clever? Anyways, so Nick Foles he's thrown so many turnovers. I think Jameis Winston is out there blushing.
That's your other tweet. Now he's just quote tweeting himself. That's where we're at. Week 13, babies.
I'm rolling through, different type of things.
So, what's your point? What do we?
My point is, do you expect we see Gardner Minshew in the second half? If not today, maybe down the stretch.
Here it's okay. So I think this is a part of a larger conversation because the minute you see reports about the coaching changes or firings or inevitabilities, then I feel like coaching staff start moving from a place of fear, right? There's a take-lock situation when in fact, this is the moment to be like, meh. This is the moment to do your Andy Dalton, right? Andy Dalton's got nothing to lose. Right. He is playing great football. Why? Because he knows he's getting moved. He's looking at property in Chicago. Why the hell not? Yeah. This is the moment for Marone to be like, forget it. Let's just flip, fire it up. Let's just make things happen, right? Chris Connolly, let's go. All of it. And he's not doing that because he's like clenching and trying to hold true to what hasn't been working, which is why he is probably going to get fired. Yeah,
it is that moving from a place of fear, which is a shame because, I think when Nick Foles came back into the lineup, my thought was, okay, this is actually a much better ecosystem than I thought it was going to be coming into the season. We talked about that a lot on the podcast in the preseason is that, look, Foles is a guy that has really worked well in the right type of environment. His second Eagle stint, certainly. His first Eagle stint for a stretch there under Chip Kelly's offense was that right type of environment too. But, L.A. Nick Foles, St. Louis Nick Foles, not quite so much the right environment. And I think this Jaguars offense has kind of turned into the right type of environment. DJ Chark is good. D.D. Westbrook has his moments. Your guy, Chris Conley, flashed again today a little bit.
He's got a hands problem.
Sure, which is slightly problematic.
For a receiver.
And also, Leonard Fournette has kind of emerged as that foundation back, but so far in this game, 9 carries, 32 yards, and he's got 3 catches though for 24 yards. That's been the surprising part about Leonard Fournette's season is that he's emerged as this sort of full workhorse back. So I thought this would be the type of environment for Nick Foles to succeed. That has not happened. He's just a disaster out there at this point, which is a shame because, like I said, there are offensive players that we really care about here.
I wonder how much, now we can't say it's just rust anymore.
No.
Right? I think there is probably, maybe Nick Foles is just a better clutch quarterback who's great at motivational speeches on the sideline. Maybe he is, in fact, the best backup you could possibly have.
That's true. If you want to talk about Kyle Allen, at the same token, people want to put Kyle Allen as this future starter in the NFL, at least at different points of this season. He goes out and shows you, in this game, it was perfect. They go down the field in their first 2 drives, 14 points right away, touchdowns to both Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. And then since then, nothing. He's overshot Curtis Samuel on a pass. They're not moving the ball at all. Washington is now up 12 to, or they're right behind him now, 12 points to 14 points. And I think that's just, again, sort of the Nick Foles situation, which is he's got enough juice to be a really good backup and be someone that the team rallies around. But at the end of the day, he's not a starter.
Let's talk about, you talked about inevitabilities, right? So Bruce Allen is under fire. He may be fired.
This is where I wanted to go next. I love it.
Oh, from Washington. Honestly, the problem in Washington is the owner.
A lot of problems.
But we'll start there. But I am interested to see Darius Geis. Now, he was one of my fantasy damage picks during FFL, and so part of the reason I was like, I don't know about this, there's a lot, right? Because you don't really want to be tied to this backfield or this offense, but Chris Thompson is back this week from a toe injury, and yet Geis is seeing, I think he's had 3 targets through the air so far and looking quite good, and one of the knocks against him out of LSU was that he wasn't a pass-catching back. Now, he wasn't asked to do a lot of that at LSU, but clearly he's got the capability. So now that he is healthy and we are looking towards 2020, is there an opportunity in which Darius Geis does become one of those foundational dual usage running backs?
Yeah, I did ask people for what was tilting them so far during this game, and I've got a response up here that we can pull up. from Aaron Goody, who says Geis is on my bench, which is obviously, I mean, I thought it was really good analysis that you had this morning on Darius Geis, and I mean, so we talked about it on the podcast as well too, Yahoo Fantasy Football Podcast. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. And look, I think Darius Geis is one of the few things, along with Terry McLaurin, that Washington can really kind of say, hey, going into 2020, this is maybe something that we could
build around.
Yep. And frankly, I didn't even know if Geis had that left in him, if the team was ready to just kind of turn the page, because it's been injury after injury after injury. This is obviously a good matchup against the Panthers, but I really like what I'm seeing from him too, to the point that if they continue to build, this could be more than just a 1 week blip, because as Mick points out in the chat, Geis is eating today because the Panthers' run D is trash. Well, both things can be
and
true.
also Dontari Poe is out, but the fact that he's
and Gerald McCoy left this game.
There you go. And the fact that Geis is getting these many opportunities, because there was a moment, right, where you thought maybe the franchise would say, we got him at a value, all things considered, right? He did drop quite a bit in the draft. And so we've gotten him at a value. Let's just let AP, which seems to be working for us, continue to run out the season, break all the dang records, and maybe give Geis a couple of reps. Let's see what we have in the guy, but not give him the full load, because we're moving from a place of fear, which is something that Washington does quite well. And in fact, in terms of this particular player, they are not doing that.
Right, and I like to just see how explosive he looks, because that's been the key for me. Like, the first game we saw him, when he came back from injury, he ripped off a big 40-plus yard reception. And then in this one, he has a big run. He scored a touchdown as well, too. Like, the big plays are what's really encouraging to me for a guy who was more of like a power-sustaining runner, even if he did have a lot of juice. And it's been a ton.
And with those injuries,
a ton of injuries,
that he wouldn't be able to run as angrily as he had been noted for.
Exactly. Now we move to another nightmare situation, which is Ronald Jones.
Oh no, you're going.
I'm just gonna. People want to talk about Ronald Jones a little bit. This is Liz.
Fine.
I admire you for your ability to kind of let this one go. We had a start-sit question where you said Ronald Jones over a tight end. That's fine. Who cares?
Mark Andrews.
But you've been good about saying that this is a bad lover. You're jilted.
Yeah. He was a toxic lover. I was done with Ronald Jones, but then, as it happens over the holidays, I had a little bit of eggnog on Thanksgiving and thought, like, you know what? Maybe I've been too hard on him. Maybe my cold heart is warming to possibilities. The matchup is great. I'm not going to take lock on this one. And I was wrong. He did me dirty again. So
Peyton Barber is still a thing. It is what it is. You wanted to move to
I just thought that, the Colts game. Tennessee Colts.
Well, I think the one thing that stands out, obviously, is we know that injuries have been a huge problem for this Colts team in general. Now, we thought coming into this game that, okay, the usage that Jonathan Williams saw on Thursday night would be, replicated.
Sustainable, yeah.
I certainly thought that. Williams has 8 carries for 14 yards. I don't know if there's an injury situation going on there at all. Jordan Wilkins, 6 for 30.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I never bought into the Williams hype because Jordan Wilkins was active, but it was a short week. Remember, there was a Thursday night game.
You're right about that.
And so what I think we can take from this is less about, also we learned this. There's a James Coe quote.
Yep.
A James Coe quote. That is very difficult to say, actually, about these backup running backs, Ty Johnson and Trey Carson and all of these situations that I think is rather astute here. But before Matt relives the James Coe quote,
almost like at least he didn't used to have a bad back,
No.
At least there's that.
And then there's that. I'll tell you what, this is a lot about the Houston Texans run defense. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, I think the James Coe quote is...
How did you do it so well? I'm wildly impressed.
I don't know.
James Coe quote. Give it now.
The James Coe quote is that I think one of his lessons learned from the 2019 season is don't chase backup running backs in bad rushing offenses. Now, Ty Johnson's a great example of that. Although Bo Scarborough got you, 8 PPR points on Thanksgiving, or whatever. But there's been a lot of instances. Hey, I think you could argue that Tampa Bay is the same thing, like chasing these running backs in what's really not a very good rushing offense, or at least not very predictable. That's his overall theme. By the way, as we're talking here, Nyheim Hines has vultured a touchdown, 1-yard touchdown.
I wouldn't say that's a vulture. I would say that is a touchdown well earned because Hines has looked good all season and just hasn't been used properly.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's just generally like, look, when Marlon Mack is in there, it's still also kind of a committee to a certain degree. I mean, Hines definitely has a role. There's a general theme, like this is what his usage is. He has a clear path to touches. But they're
also without Eric Ebron and the other one, T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I know. So to that degree, like, man, if you're trying to chase like Zach Pascal, it's been a nightmare. He has 4 for 72 here, so that was great. Look, Jonathan Williams popped up for his one little Thursday night game, and I wish I had remembered to take him out of my lineup and put Bo Scarborough in on Thanksgiving, and now I'm kind of stuck with him sitting there as my running back. It's a whole situation. That's the holidays. But he came back for his one little shining moment if you loved him back in the day, and that's it. Now it's over. Don't get attached to these backup running backs.
Should we go to Eagles-Dolphins?
Let's go to Eagles-Dolphins because there's a decent amount going on there, right? Mm-hmm. Miles Sanders gets the early touchdown for the Eagles. I think having Alshon Jeffrey back and Nelson Aguilar, like
Nelson Aguilar put together a nice drive. Like 3 spin moves and managed to add another. I want to say 7 yards or 10 yards or something.
Look, he's not
after the catch.
He's not the worst player
if he can catch the ball.
Yeah. He's got some moves.
Go.
I remember comping him to Golden Tate coming out of that draft class, which I'm not that ashamed of, because when he catches the ball, he's pretty good after the catch as a slot receiver,
I think that's right.
So I think the Eagles having Alshon Jeffrey back also makes a pretty big difference. I mean, the jump from Greg Ward and whatever.
Matt Collins.
Yeah. It's a pretty easy jump. It's worth noting that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, the rookie, did find the box here. That's pretty exciting. But I think the biggest fantasy story in this game, and it can be an overall lesson learned, Devante Parker.
Yes.
3 catches, 92 yards, and
incredible
a touchdown.
DFS play in back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back months.
I have him in mind.
Seemingly.
I mean, he is getting 10 to 11 targets per double-digit targets game after game. Ryan Fitzgerald clearly not afraid. Ryan Fitzgerald is the guy I went to high school with. Ryan Fitzpatrick, not afraid to throw the ball deep. And also, the minute Devante Parker beat Tre'Davious White for over 100 yards, I was like, sold. He is playing exceptionally well week after week, and it's his brand. It is a take lock that is preventing other fantasy managers from buying in. It is the hashtag burnt narrative. And sometimes you got to change, which is, what I tried to do with Ronald Jones, and it didn't work out to him.
But I think you've been pretty good on this Devante Parker situation. You've been open-minded.
Yeah.
You've been ready to kind of buy in. And I like it because, I like it. I also dislike it for one reason. We're never going to ever be able to write off a player as no, he's not good. Forget it, let it go. Because we'll always be like, well, remember Devante Parker, that post type sleeper. I mean, he's testing the statute of limitations on post type sleeper at this point.
He's keeping things interesting. He's doing his job. We should also mention that Kalen Ballage left this game. So, man, if you ever had some stake in Patrick Laird, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I really hope you never did. Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, is balling out in this game. I love to see him get there and lower the shoulder.
like against the tackle.
And then pop right back up with his gleaming smile on his face.
He wasn't smiling after that one. That was
I'll show you a tweet I sent out. I got the proof.
Oh, a tweet. Does it include another meme that you will describe in great detail?
Maybe. Last thing before we get out of here, just want to give you people one update about Baker Mayfield. Who looks like he's good to go. Came back, both he and Odell Beckham. There were some injury questions, but they both came out of the locker room on the sideline while the defense is on the field. Baker looks like he has a glove on his hand. So it looked like it was a hand injury, so keep an eye on that because Mayfield has sort of started to stabilize at the end of the season. And also, the Browns are kind of taking it to the Steelers right now.
He's stabilizing because of Kareem Hunt, who also found the end zone, in large part because of Kareem Hunt, who found the end zone. And Devlin Hodges, he can throw it.
Oh, yeah, Duck can throw it.
He and James Washington connected. I think James Washington might be the best post-hype sleeper of this list, right? Dante Moncrief had his moment, then Deontay Johnson couldn't stay healthy. And now James Washington, not with his former college teammate, but with Duck Hodges, showing well.
Yeah. 10-10, we've got the Steelers and the Browns tied. And I think, your boy Scott says right off OBJ he sucks. the best part about this Browns offense now
Hi, Scott.
is that we don't have to just rely.
We don't need him.
On Odell Beckham. You can take it piece by
might
piece.
Need him, but they don't need him.
Exactly. So that is going to do it for our first halftime show. We will see you all again during the late game, so make sure to come back, give us your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, what's bothering you, what you need us to talk about, the whole thing. And of course, you can tweet at Liz all during the games, at @LizLoza_FF. Don't tweet at me because I'll be busy building memes and other sorts of things. I'm just
talking about them.
Of course, you can
the
always
memes
tweet
and the
at
tweets.
me, @MattHarmon_BYB. We'll see you all later during the second halftime.
Don't forget to use that hashtag AskFFL.
Because I'll forget to mention it.
Again.